He talks about it, it's very ridiculous. The fans love it. That's what it is. Oh, yeah, well, I mean, that's what, East Coast will do to the Super Bowl, man. I mean, oh, yeah. He gets a cheeseburger. You go get a cheeseburger. Oh, he's all kind of that. But you kind of have. When they ask him what he thought about playing Germany next year, I sure love me some bratwurst. I'm talking about coach. He said, he goes, what do you think about playing Germany? I like bratwurst. Notice he's holding him up with 5 years. Yeah. So,
What was he going for that?
Philly.
Oh, he was?
Yeah, he took Philly to the Super Bowl. Their last Super Bowl was for them.
Kind of like the Patriots guy. What's his name?
Yeah.
Volkovich. Vodacek.
You ready? Okay, let's call this meeting to order, 7 o'clock, February 13th, and the Sheriff's Boardroom, Full County Board. Roll call, please.
Sarah Messman. Here. Mr. McCall.
Present.
Mr. Vaughn.
Here.
Mr. Ferguson.
Here.
Mrs. King.
Here.
Mr. May. Mr. McQuinn.
Here.
Mr. Aubrey. Ann Erkey.
Here.
Mr. Nuss.
Here.
Cindy Erkey.
Here.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes, here. Here, the Honorable Board of Fort County Session pursuant to the ordinance, govern yourself accordingly.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, be with our troops, keep them safe and out of harm's way. Be with our police officers across this great nation, keep them safe both on and off duty. Be with our veterans and their daily struggles. Guide us tonight as we do the Fort County business, and guide us in your loving Son's name, Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Would someone like to approve the board agenda, please?
So moved, King.
We have a first, can I have a second?
Second, and
Have first and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Would someone like to approve the January 9th, 2023 board minutes, please?
Tim Nuss, I make a motion.
Tim makes a motion. Have a second, please.
Second, we'll call.
And first and seconds. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Communications.
We have one thank you note from our employee in my office, Vicki Mickoff. Fort County Board, you're the best. Thank you all so much for the gift card. I very much appreciated it.
Thank you. Comments from floor.
We have two. Kirk Allen.
Thank you. My name is Kirk Allen. I'm co-founder of the Edgar County Watchdogs. And I'm here tonight to share some information based on a lot of questions and, I won't say tips, but they come in through our tip line regarding farm ground. And this is something we've worked on throughout the state for probably the last 10 years. And there's a lot of, I'll say, misconception in a lot of cases to your state's attorney. I read the article that was in the Paxton Record. My hat's off to you because I think you nailed it. There's a simple legal analysis, but one of the things that we see is another bill coming into the House, and I wanted to pass around what I wish our legislatures would read. There should be enough there for everybody. It's the most recent version of the annotated Constitution, and specifically page 127, which is highlighted. And I'll wait till everybody gets a copy of that just so I'm not getting too far ahead. The crux of leasing out public property is a term called public purpose. If you were to do a search for public purpose for case law and read all those cases, and there's a ton of them, you see how the courts apply the analysis of what is and what isn't a public purpose. To keep it simple, the second highlighted portion there, several AG opinions have addressed leasing of county-owned real estate to other persons or organizations. Those opinions advise that not only must such leases be for adequate consideration to the county, but the use to which the leasee puts the property must itself benefit the public, such as providing space for another unit of government or for legislatures. That's an example they put in there. Getting money from a lease is only one prong of public purpose. Public purpose has two prongs: the money received and how the land itself is used. If it's leased to a private farmer, I'm a farmer, I've got farm ground. I come from a farming background, but it benefits the farmer. That's a sole beneficiary of it, not the general public at large. Now, if you leased it to somebody that put in a parking garage, everybody gets to use the parking garage, or a massive garden, if you will, for, supplying food to a food pantry. That would have a public purpose. But when it goes to an individual, whether that's a public or private lease, when the use of the land privately benefits, it doesn't meet the second prong of the Constitution. Now, we have a bill, I noticed it was in your board packet. The one you have in your packet's last year's bill. This one is an identical bill, and again, it says farmland may be leased to either public or private entities for the public purpose of financially supporting operations of the government. They're trying to declare that the public purpose is just one prong. And that doesn't coincide with what the Constitution says, or all of the case law on public purpose. They're supposed to hear this bill on Thursday. I already know it's got a huge challenge in the Senate. We're taking issue with it from the simple fact that it doesn't address the most important prong, which is how the use of the land is addressed. Shelby County recently went to what's called a custom farming contract. One of the things we haven't seen yet out of Department of Revenue, and this is the final prong that really is the test, do you pay property tax on the property? If you do, guess what? It doesn't have a public purpose, because if it has a public purpose, it's tax exempt. So Department of Revenue makes that determination. They went with custom farming. They're waiting for an answer from the Department of Revenue to say whether or not custom farming, where you, the board, or that board, controls the crop. You hire somebody to mow the grass and take away your grass clippings, well, you're going to pay someone to plant a crop and harvest the crop, but it's your crop. You decide to sell it. That's what Shelby County is doing under a custom farm. If the Department of Revenue says it's now tax exempt, then I think we found the answer. That's the way to do it legally. If they come back and say, nope, the public purpose hasn't been met, and hopefully they'll explain why, then it still doesn't meet a public purpose. The history of poor farms and nursing home farm ground goes many, many years back. Years ago, when they abolished the poor farms, the land should have been sold. Whether it was or wasn't is irrelevant to today, because we've had it for I don't know how many years since. But now the question is, how do we do it within the confines of the law? Hopefully, the simplistics of the annotated Constitution brings it back to the basics. Money coming in is one prong, how it's used is the second. If we can answer that second one that has an overall public purpose, then the problem's solved. But the new bill and legislation is not going to address that second one. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one more, John Croft.
Hi, I'm John Kraft. I'm the other Edgar County watchdog. I'm going to add on to what Kirk was talking about. Sometimes people get confused when they see other counties leasing farmland. Well, I saw whoever put this together. I think there's a page missing. It goes from K to W. But for instance, Edgar County, they have farmland and they lease it. Edgar County leases it through the airport. Airports are permitted to lease farm ground, not only under the statute, but under several court cases. The County Airport and Landing Field Act and Edgar County Airport follows, specifically says that all land owned or leased by the county are acquired and leased for a public purpose. That's in the airport part of the county's General County Airport Act, subject to Section 1, and Section 1 of that act explains what property they're talking about. So they're talking about property that is in the landing field of the airport on the approach that they're required to have, according to the FAA, for safety of the airport. Certainly, the statute says they can lease that, then they can farm it, they can do whatever they want with it. The same with their T-hangers at the airport that people put their little airplanes in. They can do that. And that serves a public purpose because they're mandated to have that property and it supports the airport. And the only place those funds for that property at the Edgar County Airport can go is into the Edgar County Airport Fund. It can't go to the county general fund. And there's a big difference. And there's other instances, I'm sure, in this list. And if I could get a complete list, I would be happy to go county by county on the list to get a specific question to each county, because some of these are like Edgar County. I believe Whiteside County is the same. It says they have farm ground and they lease it. They use a different airport act. I think they use the Airport Act of County Airport Act of 1940 something. But it's similar. Shelby County has an airport that also leases farm ground at the airport, which is different than the county-owned airport that the old home used to be on. So I know that some of these in this list aren't purely county-owned farm. The county might have an airport. The county might have a forest preserve. Forest preserves are allowed to lease out farmland. It's in the Forest Preserve Act. Huh?
Nursing homes.
Yeah, the nursing homes are allowed to do that because the income from the farm supports the nursing home. That money can only go to the nursing home fund. There's other cases that talks about public purpose. And this one has nothing to do with farmland. It deals with a water tower a village had that wanted to allow somebody to lease the water tower so they could paint their name on it. And the name was St. Clair Square, the shopping center. The court said no. Yes, the water tower is used to provide all the residents with water, but putting that name on there is not a public purpose, and there's no way they can do it. And I have that here. If you're interested, I can email it to you. The other thing is, I don't know if you've seen this Attorney General opinion from 1975, but it talked about the Galey versus Johnson decision, and I'll give it to the state's attorney. The state attorney is asking the Attorney General if Logan County, I think it's Logan County, can lease out farm ground that used to be owned by the county poor farm. And the answer was no. That was in 1975, but things haven't changed in the law or the Constitution since then. That would affect their ability to lease the farm ground. If you have any questions, you can shoot us an email. I'd be glad to answer them. I don't know if you have any, you probably do already.
this one also says the state's attorney has no duty to enjoin the county board from.
Says you have no duty to, but it says you can if you want to.
And then Amy,
That's all.
thank you, thank you. Opportunity for the elected officials to address the board.
I have two.
Good evening. The hot pink is the circuit clerk's report, monthly report. One of the things that I've been working on diligently in the month of January, along with the jury and all that other things that we do. You can see the different things that I've got, but I'm giving you a Report J, my annual financial report, and I want to walk you through it real quick. I'm trying to educate you so you know what my office is and what we do, because most of you don't have any dealings in my office to understand what it is that I do. If you look at page 1 of the annual financial report, which is from December 1st of 2021 to November 30th of 2022, the first page are all of the fees that were collected in the circuit clerk's office that are the revenue of the clerk's office. Clerk's fees and court costs, these are things that in all these scheduled fees for civil cases and criminal cases, there's a clerk fee. It also could be a bond fee. Court automation is what I collect on a court automation fee that is assessed in civil cases and in criminal cases. This is the amount of money that was collected in these areas in the year. There's a $36 child support fee. I have one person that pays it for the maintaining of their records for child support. I'm a pass-through county. We are a pass-through county. I do not take the checks and deposit them and then turn around and cut a check. And really they're supposed to be sending their checks to the state disbursement unit to have their child support circulated, but in circumstances where the court, the parties agree otherwise and they want to pay through the circuit clerk's office, then they give me, whoever's paying the child support provides me with a check payable to the receiver, and I make an entry into the computer to document the fact that I got a payment. Payments go in the day I get them, they go out the day I get them. And I don't have too many, I don't know, maybe 10 a week, if I have 10 a week, because most of them people are paying through the state disbursement unit. The court document storage fee, this is the total amount of that fee that has been assessed in Office Civil Filings and criminal assessments. Circuit Clerk Operation Administrative Fund, there are certain fees that I get a percentage of. Some of it's 2% of a fee that I am collecting for others. And the Circuit Clerk Electronic Citation Fund is a new fee, and that is being collected, and that's assessed off of traffic tickets. The other revenue in clerk's office, interest paid on the accounts, that's how much interest is paid on all of my dedicated fees and any bank accounts that I have. The 4D contractual incentive, I'm to keep all the records for child support and child support ledgers and tick sheets and child support orders. And when 4D, the Illinois Department of Health and Family Services wants this to verify an SCU payment. If I get a child support order coming in, I have to download that child support order into the state disbursement portal. In order for that, let's just say it's a father paying child support to his ex-wife, and they're being withheld from their child support at work. The employer sends it to the state disbursement unit. And if I have not coded in all the parties, their social security numbers, their addresses, their phone numbers, and how much they're supposed to pay, if I haven't coded that into the state disbursement unit portal, then that child support doesn't get shipped out. So that is one thing that I do have to do is manage watching the child support orders that come in so that I can get that information. The state disbursement unit is money in, money out. If someone doesn't pay child support, they're not tracking if someone doesn't pay child support. They're just tracking, you've got money in, we deposit it, we wait 3 days, we send a check out to the recipient. That's how that's working. The other one is, and I get a reimbursement for doing that job. Then the other, one of them is the cannabis reimbursement for expungements. There's a lot of laws out there, and I think there's more that are coming on down the pipe for automatic expungements on certain kind of cases. I have a different viewpoint on that. I think if you did the crime, then you need to tell me you want to expunge it, not me look you up and figure it all out and then find you. But that would be an argument I have with the legislators. But we do get a grant, a reimbursement grant for our costs and expenses and time to do those. So that's the amount of revenue at the bottom. Page 2 is, these are my operating expenses. You can see what the salary line items are. Out of the salary, 24% of my salaries for my staff are paid out of document storage fee, which is a dedicated fee that I do collect. You can see that down there on the document storage list listed here. Court automation, 100% of my court automation costs are being paid out of a dedicated fee, 100%. So it's not costing the county. You can see the circuit clerk operation administrative fund, I believe I pay for consulting fee. AOIC has a person that's retired that's doing consulting, and toner, a bunch of toner I paid out of that one. So if you look down at the bottom, all other expenses, there's a sheet towards the back, $9,994.79 were the other expenses. So 39% of my office is paid with dedicated fees. 39% of the operation of my office is paid with dedicated fees. I'm very proud to say that. You go to the next page, page 3, the checks that come weekly, monthly, bi-weekly on child support, the amount of checks that were inputted, 78,064. This is child support that I collect, that I run through, that I put in and mail out, that I had talked to you about earlier. The state disbursement unit, that is the amount of money, $1,037,913.92 is for people who are Ford County residents that are paying child support. Well, they don't have to be a Ford County resident. If it's a support order from Ford County, that's how much child support is being collected from the state disbursement unit. You can see a breakdown of all these other municipalities and fines and fees. The criminal fines, the traffic fines towards the bottom. I'm trying to go through quickly. Page 4 and page 5, these are all these different kind of fees that I could or should collect, or ordered to collect. And when I was clerk the first time, they kept adding and adding and adding and adding. And 12 years of retirement, I come back and there are even more costs or fees that the circuit clerk's office has to collect. And you can see that on those reports. Going to page 6. These are the fees of others that I collect for the state's attorney's office, for the sheriff, process fees, court security fee. There's no money being collected for the law library. It says marriage fund of the circuit court. It says 0. I collect the $10 marriage fee. If the judge is marrying somebody, there's a $10 marriage fee. I collect it. And I deposit it. But it's not my account. It's the judge's account. Because the judge doesn't want to have to handle money. So, and then who supervises that account is the chief judge's secretary. So when she's ready to be audited, then she double checks her receipts off the receipts that I have provided her. So this says nothing on how much marriage fund is, but I am the one that gets it, and I'm the one that has to deposit it and account for it to the chief judge's office. Mandatory, if you look at, court-appointed probation, you can see how much we collected in probation fees, $30,568.47. Mandatory arbitration fund. A lot of people don't realize this, but Ford County is an arbitration county. And Judge Roberts was the judge, and I was there. It's probably 94, 95, when we became an arbitration county. And we were kind of like the pilot of the small counties. And all the other counties in our circuit were supposed to jump aboard and do the same thing, and it's McLean County and Ford County that are still the only arbitration counties in our circuit. I get $8 for every civil filing, and there are other fees that can be assessed if someone It's for $10,001 up to $49,999, and a claim or cause of action that should be listed as an arbitration county. And if the people contest whatever the complaint is, then they have to go to the arbitration center in McLean County to have it heard. Honestly, I don't have that many arbitrations filed. Part of it is educating attorneys that we are an arbitration county, because some of them will file it as an LM or small claims. You can see these other fees that are in here. Just reading for your enjoyment, I guess. Page 7, restitution, how much restitution we collected and distributed, $19,228.34. Down there at the bottom shows that the funds that I just collected and distributed was $1,683,360.71. So, for our little office, that's a lot of work, and that's just the money end of it. Now, the last page I showed you is I get audited. I'm required to be audited. I don't know how many of the other offices in the courthouse have to have. I know the treasurer gets audited, but there's an audit here mandated by the state of Illinois that I shall be audited annually. And in that, they're checking the assessments, the collections, the distribution of funds, including the timeliness of those actions, any documentation or statement necessary to support the findings and opinions of the auditors, any supplemental schedules, and listing of applicable legal requirements, all these things. So if you see the last page, I'm getting ready to have my audit. I don't just get audited for collecting money. I get audited on statistical reports. I get audited on whether I'm collecting the right fee. And you can see on this little, very tiny printed last page, I had to spend a lot of time collecting all those just to email them to the auditor so that he can get some of his work done before he comes and sees me. And then there'll be a random selection of files in my office that they will just arbitrarily pick, and we'll go through those and see if costs and fees were assessed and everything was done correctly. So there's a lot of work in just that part, and I want to hope you understand that we're not just somebody that sits there and processes paper. Any questions?
Is there a scheduled audit?
Yes. Well, I don't know, whenever he comes to do the treasurer's office,
Oh, okay.
then, but a lot of my auditing is already done by having to locate all that information and then send it to him.
Okay.
So,
Is this a yearly?
yes. Yes, and then, I'm glad to say in the 17 years that I've been your circuit clerk, in the first 15 in these two, I have never had a finding of anything wrong with the operations in my office.
Very good.
Any questions? Oh. And Chase, whenever you want to come, you can.
I'm sorry, I do have a question, because I know probation's getting, AOIC is going to start drawing directly from your statistics to
Yeah.
complete your, is it also?
SCOTUS? Well, mine's called something like SCOTUS. They're starting to run the software, and that there's a grant that's coming up, and they will eventually be drawing my statistical information out
Directly from the
directly, and
computers
that
and
would be a huge relief. Huge relief. But
stuff. And if they get rid of court costs and assessments, you won't have to worry about those anymore.
well, that would be, nothing moves really quick. And they're using Tyler. They're using it's Tyler Technologies is the ones that is going to be working. They're working with them to draw this information. So I'm
No,
sure
I meant the CATA. If they modify CATA and go ahead and make it easier for people to waive their assessments, you won't be collecting those, correct?
No, I wouldn't be collecting them, but then the county isn't, I'm not getting my dedicated fees, and then probation's not getting their fees, and other people aren't getting their fees. I mean, it goes all the way down.
I mean, we assess them whenever we can up in
Right.
court, but
Right.
collections, we don't do.
And the
that.
CATA,
So
that's-
go
the
to
CATA-
court office.
There was, when I was circuit clerk the first time, I had to figure out what all the fees were that were to be collected. I processed and did all that and had to do that for every case category. And it left it to all the other circuit clerks in the state of Illinois to do the same. And then people were getting convicted, and then they were appealing their court costs, and they were like, why am I paying this much, and where are all these fees, and all this other thing, and when some circuit clerks might collect these fees, another circuit clerk might not collect all the fees that this other circuit clerk is, whatever. They had so many appeals that there was an incentive, this is my understanding, there was an incentive to standardize all the fees throughout the state, and that's where those fees that you're talking about. And you have an ordinance in 2019 that you approved when Kim was the clerk that sets all those assessments for civil cases and criminal cases, and traffic tickets.
Was that, them being able to waive fees, was that part of the lawsuit that you guys have brought up, or was that just the part of letting them?
No, that's from CATA, the criminal and traffic
It's a different-
assessment.
Oh, okay.
That's a different one.
Okay.
That's where if you're, in criminal matters anywhere, if you make 200% of the federal poverty level, you don't have to pay any of your assessments, and then it's tiered after that, 150% down to 25%, you get a partial waiver.
My statistics are called Qualtrics,
Right.
and yeah, and GEMS, we already have the new GEMS, and we are collecting that data. It's just Tyler hasn't started collecting for AOIC yet, but we are collecting that data already.
Yours will probably be a smaller scale than the circuit clerk's office and
8,000 data points, so maybe not, but yeah, we're doing fine.
they'll collect they're gonna be watching all the stats and statistics and civil and criminal and traffic and everything else that's coming down the pipe, but.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other department heads? Let's move on to the approval of the elected officials' reports, please.
Cindy Erke so moves.
First and second.
So we have first and second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Chairman report. Chris just sent you your report. You should have all got it by email. Zoning officer, he did not have any permits or dollars to report. He says he has a few pending permits, and we'll probably hopefully have that by next month, whatever those are. Let's see. I don't know what else. So like zoning, all the different meetings I attended, but SERMA had their meeting. Let's see what they had their meeting. SERMA, 126, and so I am now the chair of the SERMA Executive Committee. There was like 6 openings, and yeah, we got the chair filled, the vice chair, I think we might have got the secretary and the treasurer, and then we needed like 5 other positions, and I think we might have got 2 out of that. So, because so many people went off the board, whether they chose not to run, or they got beat, anyway, it was just, well, we did the best we could, so we got majority of it filled, and then I'm also now the vice chair of the WIA, Chief Elected Official Board, and the chairman of Iroquois County. He is chairman of Iroquois, is the chairman of the WIA. Let's move on to verbal committee reports. Environment safety. Gene called, he said he's not feeling well, didn't want to come and give you guys any of his germs. So and he has not had a meeting, I know. So let's move on to finance. Okay, so if someone would like to approve the finance committee claims reviewed in finance committee.
So moved, Ferguson.
We have a first, we have a second, please.
Cindy Erke second.
Have a first and a second. Any questions or comments on any of the bills for finance? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Mussman? Yes. Mr. McCall?
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. McQuinn?
Yes.
Ann Erke?
Yes.
Mr. Nuss?
Yes.
Cindy Erke?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes, motion carries. We also have to approve the ARPA claims that we reviewed in finance. Have a motion, please.
Ferguson, so moved.
Have a first, have a second, please.
Second, and Erky.
Have a first and a second. Any questions or comments on any of those claims? Roll call, please.
Mr. McCall?
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. McQuinn?
Yes.
Ann Erky?
Yes.
Mr. Nuss?
Yes.
Cindy Erky?
Yes.
Mrs. Mussman?
Yes.
And Mrs. Smith?
Yes, motion carries. Tricia brought it to our attention in the One Finance Committee. We met on January 18th for ARPA, to go over the ARPA fund. She brought it to our attention that we had passed last month some bills, like for the dog. We agreed to pay for that, but we did not have the resolutions. So what you've got in your packet is resolutions, several resolutions. We can go over them one at a time if you want to, or do whatever you folks want to do. I can get to them.
I believe those are total.
Yeah. So, I'm not sure what, I went back through them. So, okay, that's Amy.
They're back to back.
So they're back to back, so the one of them is like the 1,106,000 to be spent on the project for our public safety salary and the benefit reimbursements. That one we approved, but we need to do, like, so we need to do resolutions. So, that's what I'd like to make a motion, do them one at a time. Make a motion for this resolution.
You want to do one at a time?
I would love 4 or 5.
You want to do all, what's your pleasure?
Let's
Want to
do
do them all?
5.
Just do them all.
I said 5.
Do them all, okay. Someone like to make a motion, to do them all.
Yes, I will do that, Ferguson.
Randy made the motion.
King second.
So you have first and second. So if there's any of them that you want to question, let me know, we'll pull those puppies out. So there's those 5 there. Any questions or comments on any of those? So basically what she wanted to do was, so we have a resolution, as the bills come in, she could put in the ARPA, she can put them in the certain folders for like safety and all that, she can put them together and they have a resolution. So we put a cap on them, so we didn't have to keep doing another resolution. So we've not spent that much money, but we wanted to cap them. Well, so we didn't have to do a resolution right away, so that's why we did it that way. So just to clarify. So, roll call.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. McQuinn?
Yes.
Ann Erky?
Yes.
Mr. Nuss?
Yes.
Cindy Erky?
Yes.
Mrs. Mussman?
Yes.
Mr. McCall?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes, motion carries. Then you have in your packet for the county clerk to destroy certain equipment, which is this one here. Would someone like to make a motion for that one, please?
Cindy Erky so moves.
Have a motion, have a second, please.
Mussman, second.
Have a first and a second.
Yeah, it says records, not
Yeah,
records, documents. and-
well, I was reading, it says, yeah, destroy and certain equipment. I'm just
Yes.
reading, I'm sorry, reading off the agenda.
So this is all the damaged equipment, correct, Amy?
Correct, and I will not be disposing of it until after the election, so.
Any questions or comments on this one? All those in favor, please say aye. Okay, let's move on to the drainage district for Anderson and Hoogstraat. Is that how it's pronounced, Randy? Can you tell me that? You want to go ahead and approve both of those, please?
So moved.
Have a motion on the floor, can I have a second, please?
Tim Nuss seconds.
Have a first and a second. Any questions or comments on either one of these gentlemen?
Does anybody know who they are? You do? Okay. I just would like to meet these people when they get reappointed. I'm glad you know one.
Well, these come through the Martinson and Neiman,
Oh, okay.
and I several, asked to Jerry Neiman to sit there and be nice and kind of give us a little history of these people, but that's never happened, so. Anyway, hopefully somebody on the board knows who they are. That's my only, I would agree with Cindy, it'd be nice to.
Supposedly you can vet them before you submit them.
But, yeah, so anyway,
They live in the drainage district in which they represent, and usually they're farmers.
so,
And the RV.
and they agreed to do it. Anyway. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign.
Aye. That's Cindy, or you need it.
Okay, I think I got everything off both of these. Highway, Tim.
Highway Department, we met on February 7th at 7 a.m. at the Roberts Highway Department building, and we reviewed the bills, and I'd make a motion to present those bills to the county board.
Have a motion on the floor, give a second, please.
Second, and Erky.
First and second. Any questions or comments on any of the highway bills? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. McQuinn,
Yes.
Ann Erkey.
Yes.
Mr. Nuss,
Yes.
Cindy Erkey,
Yes.
Mrs. Mussman,
Yes.
Mr. McCall,
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes, motion carries.
And you'll also receive in your packet the same thing we've been doing. Everybody's preparing, ready for the upcoming spring season for construction. You have 2 engineering service agreements in your packet. We have one of them for the Kempton Road, and we have one for the K-Berry Road. I'd like to present those as one bill, one resolution. It equals $32,000, and it's work to be done, and it's described in the thing. You'll see one is for 1 mile and one's for 2.
I have a motion on the floor for Kempton and Cambry.
Engineering service agreements.
Have a second, please.
Vaughn, second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any questions or comments on these?
I just have one question, Greg, is this K-Berry one, is this for the road that goes through town?
Yes.
Oh, thank
It's the
goodness,
1 mile.
thank you.
And they're doing the parking.
It's the same thing.
Okay, finally, yes, 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 wonderful.
That's all I have for the highway.
Any other questions or comments on those? Roll call, please.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. McQuinn,
Yes.
Ann Erkey.
Yes.
Mr. Nuss,
Yes.
Cindy Erkey,
Yes.
Mrs. Mussman,
Yes.
Mr. McCall,
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes, motion carries. Insurance personnel, Leslie.
Yeah, we met on January 19th and discussed the longevity guide and the upcoming health insurance for employees. Also talked about the handbook and the training for staff and the departments to get, squared away on that. We have a meeting this Wednesday that you're all invited to right here in the Sheriff's Board meeting room here at 4:45 with Marty Ness and the personnel and employees to talk about health insurance and answer questions from employees. And our next Personnel and Insurance Committee meeting will be on Thursday, March 16th at 9 a.m. right here in the Sheriff's Boardroom. Thank you.
You said 9 a.m.?
9 a.m. on Thursday, March 16th, yes.
Anything else, Leslie?
That's it, thank you.
Okay, AT checks in Texas. Hopefully it's warm down there. Overview legislation. Cindy?
Okay, fun times. We met, well, 3 times actually. And we further discussed the farm ground and options. So, I don't know if you guys remember a while back, Jason Bly had come, he works with the Partners for Fish and Wildlife, it's a federal agency for they were talking about putting a wetland in the farm number 2, where the pasture ground is, and everybody thought that was a good idea. And he got the contract to us, but we never gave the chairman the approval to do the contract. So, the contract was in the packet on the table, I think. And it is for the Fish and Wildlife landowner agreement. So I would like to make a motion that we give chairman approval to sign that agreement.
Have a motion on the floor, can I have a second, please? A first and a second. Any questions or comments on
Yes.
that?
This ground will be still in the county's name, and they will have use of it for $0?
Correct.
Okay, could-
They are just putting in a wetland program, and then what we can do, it's still the county's property. They will be doing the seeding and any prep work that needs to be done. And then probably within a year, just so the plants become established, we can sign up with the DNR, the IRAP program, which is the Illinois Recreational Access Program, and that will open it up to people to be able to use it through the DNR.
And that will take it off the tax rolls if it's on the tax rolls?
Should,
Okay.
it should. And that also comes with insurance, so they will have, the DNR, the insurance will be covered if people are out there and stuff through that program.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just for clarification, we're only talking less than 40 acres.
It's not
That's
39.
Yes,
Yeah,
39
I just-
acres.
I just wanted to make sure, like these guys are talking about the tax rolls, if it's, I never thought about the tax side of it.
Yeah.
be used for hunting? Yes, sure.
So through that program, you can designate, you can kind of customize it to say hiking, bird watching, hunting, so we'll have some choices to make on what is allowed out there.
Well, the seasons too, seasonal stuff, so.
Correct, yeah, yeah,
And they cover, you said liability for
they do,
incidences
yes,
out there?
yes. And also there's a state statute that if you are using it for public purpose, that you're, I don't know what the proper term is.
I mean, we get sued, but we have
Immunity.
immunity
Immunity.
through the state statute.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions on that? Okay.
You made that a motion?
Yes.
Tom seconds. Any other questions, comments? There's really no dollars amount. I'll do roll call.
You don't know about international contract.
Mr. McQuinn?
Yes.
Ann Erkey?
Yes.
Mr. Nuss?
Yes.
Cindy Erkey?
Yes.
Mrs. Mussman?
Yes.
Mr. McCall?
Yes.
Sorry. Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes, motion carried.
So the next thing we discussed was hiring operators to contract with for the implementation and maintenance of the farm properties and possible CRP contract requirements. I'll make that a motion. Get a second.
Which is it for just one of the properties then?
It would be all three of them.
All three of them?
Mhm.
I'll second.
I have first and second.
Turn that second.
You get that, Amy? First and second.
Thank you.
Questions, comments?
Yep, that question. CRP pays, where's that money go?
So,
Because it sounds like it has to stay with somebody else, not us.
yes. So that's where we would look at partnering with I don't know if partnering is not the right word, contracting with a 501c3.
And then they would get the money.
Right, right.
If it would have to be a public use,
Right.
something that would take it out of the tax roll.
Right, so like, I think Champaign Audubon Society said they would be interested. And so basically we would have a contract with them to be the operator. So they would also be the one helping to organize doing the work, mowing, site prep, anything like that. We would have to oversee all that and make sure it's being done correctly, but that would be an option for the CRP.
So wasn't there something that they would donate some money back out of the CRP contract to the county?
That would be something that would be in the contract, yeah.
Right, so we would still get something for the property. but-
Right, yeah.
So
Cindy, I got a question too, kind of related to that. Did you guys get clarification on whether the nonprofit status is required for the operators?
It would be, if this is the route the board decides to take, it would be cleanest if it's 501c3, because then that's a charitable organization, and the purpose then wouldn't be a private individual benefiting from it.
It's possible for it to be a private landowner or farmer or legal.
But I don't think there is an appellate decision on that issue. What I said was it would be cleanest if it's a 501c3. It would have the strongest probability of surviving a legal challenge. Yep.
And then the ground would then be open to the same sort of program as the pasture ground will be open to. We put it in the IRAP program, and the public would then have full access to it.
So we would be following then the way, right now, the legality of it?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, and I appreciate both Mr. Kraft and Mr. Allen's presentation. Like I said, there is no appellate court decision on leasing farm ground. There are myriads of appellate court decisions on public purposes. I think I look at it like this. The Attorney General has issued an opinion that we can't lease the farm ground. The Attorney General has also issued an opinion that the Illinois Constitution allows us to go to a no-cash bail system. That's their opinion. A bunch of us disagree with that, and we filed suit against them, and it'll be decided in court. Same thing with, no court has decided this issue. It's an interesting issue, and there are a bunch of novel legal issues there. Agriculture, as you guys know, is the driving force of small county economies. It doesn't just benefit the farmer, it benefits the seed dealer, the fertilizer dealer, it benefits the restaurant owners who are selling lunches to the farmers. It prevents the spread of noxious weeds. It conserves soil. There are a myriad of benefits to agriculture, and those have been declared in both state and federal legislation. Whether or not a court buys that as sufficient public purpose to find leasing is permitted, I mean, we won't know until the court has heard that. At least, and I don't know if either of you are aware of any direct appellate decision on that issue.
No, sir.
Yeah, and I think we got the opinion from 75, but I think it goes back to 64, I think was the first one I found. So in 60 years, it hasn't been challenged to the point that an appellate court has issued a decision. There are a bunch of novel issues that it'd be nice if we did have some guidance on this from a court level. But the Attorney General issued an opinion, and sometimes I agree with the Attorney General's opinions, and sometimes, whether it's the Safety Act or the assault weapons ban, I disagree with it. But that's what courts are for.
One more question. So if we were to go this route, then we would not be going the cash farm route. If the board votes to go with this route, am I correct in that? I mean, would that be the other?
Yes,
You talked
it
about
says
this for
possible CRP contract requirement.
Yeah, if the ground goes into CRP, it's not being farmed.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, if we did this, that negates the other. I mean, if the board's decision is
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to opine on something that you mentioned with the AG opinions. The one thing the AG opinions do is they cite cases regarding public purpose. And they point to those cases, and the analysis in those cases all came back to the constitutional provision of Article 8, Section 1, public funds, property, and credit shall only be used for public purpose. And even after the 60, whatever year that was, all the way through the change of our Constitution, every court case on public purpose points to that same exact analysis. And that hasn't changed. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind, because I agree with you, there are a lot of AG opinions and whatnot that we don't agree with, and they haven't been challenged. And those are things we've even talked to other counties about, whether or not you can take a deck action to determine whether or not it is. And so far, nobody has ever done that. And it's just one of those things, like you said, it's a great study from the legal perspective.
Yeah, it'd be a great law school question.
Oh, it would.
Absolutely. Yeah, I haven't seen, and again, if you have one, I'd love to read it. I haven't seen an AG's opinion on this issue addressing the other declared public purposes and public benefits of agriculture. I think it's always been limited to the funds coming into the county supplementing the county's general revenue stream. I don't know if you guys have seen one other than that.
No, not on this point, we haven't.
Yeah.
And the challenge, you can ask for a legal opinion, but if you've talked to them before, I mean, it may take.
It might be 8 years down the road.
Yeah, who knows how long it could take.
And frankly, and no disrespect to Attorney General Raoul, my office works with his office and stuff, but I don't want his opinion. I'd like a binding court decision, if anything.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, we're on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I guess I asked the question, if we voted yes, meaning the board voted yes on this particular one, then we would not be voting, that would negate the cash farmer, because we would already be tying the land up, not tying it up, but we would utilize it with the CRP contract. And am I also correct in saying that technically still the cash farm rent, cash farming it is not legal at this point? Am I correct on that?
Well, again, you've got an Attorney General's opinion that says it's not, you don't have a court opinion that says it's not.
What happens if you do cash rent it?
Well, if someone challenges it, we go to court and
Where? Here? Springfield?
it would be here. I mean, the venue would be in Ford County.
And would that then end that issue on that outcome? Or would this continue on another 60 years?
If we were challenged and if the county, let me back up, if the county leases, and I would argue that it has to be a citizen of the county challenging that action to have standing.
Yep.
I don't believe someone in Chicago could come down here and say, you can't do that. It has to be a Ford County citizen, or at least the Ford County taxpayer, to have standing to challenge the board's action on that. If they challenge it and they're successful at the trial court level, then we would appeal to the 4th District Appellate Court.
And that would be the first time it's been appealed.
The first time that I would know that an appellate court's ever addressed this issue. If we won
How you feel?
at the trial court level, it would be up to them to decide if they wanted to appeal that.
And in that same vein, Andrew, if we hypothetically approve the CRP contract, we too could theoretically be sued.
Yeah, yes.
Or something.
Again, I
A
think
taxpayer
you
could file
have,
a lawsuit.
a taxpayer could file a lawsuit saying it's not right that the county has 400 acres that is not generating money for the county, depending on what agreements were signed with the 501c3.
Because there's not precedent.
Correct. There's no precedent on this issue.
Okay, I came in here knowing what I was gonna do, now I agree with you. If we vote yes on that, then we're not gonna lease it, and I thought part of what we were trying to achieve was to go ahead and get it rented for 1 year, so we have time to look at it and see what we're actually gonna do.
I get a chance, I will speak. Okay.
So, I don't know.
Well, and that was the discussion, and if someone wants to challenge it in that year, they take us to court and we defend the action and we go from there.
Okay, so you understand that if you go with Cindy's motion, that's all 3 farms.
Right?
Yes.
But I would be willing to change my motion if I can to one specific farm.
Because so a lot of you guys may not, okay, you go out to, go south of Paxton to the, what they call the old dump road, and you go out past, so the pit, you go out 5.5 miles out, it's on the south side of the road. This is the one that's got the pasture. This is when we just voted to go ahead and put this in CRP here. Just that. I would like to see,
Wait. Where's the start?
let's start,
Is that picture?
yep,
Okay.
it's page, yep, the page before that, that page there.
And then the next page.
The next one
That's right, that
is
starts.
where it's at, yes, sir.
All right.
So, I'll just give you my, I like the idea, this would be great into a CRP. Public could go out, use it, enjoy it, walk around, they're talking about doing the flood, flood and all that other good stuff. That would be a great one, but to tie up all 3 of them into CRP, you guys do whatever you want to do, but I know what I'm voting on.
Well, the other 2 farms would be custom.
I think you should also look in custom farming. If you can't rent like we used to, because I don't think the majority's gonna vote for that. That's what so I think you can go into custom farming with the other 2. See how that goes for 1 year, and then we can act on it in 1 year. But I say, definitely, it sounds like it, to cash rent out the window. It's just what I'm hearing tonight.
And on that point, to lease the property, you need 3/4 vote of the full board, so you need 9 votes.
To lease the rest of the property other than this one, or to put this in CRP?
To both, I mean, they're both leases of a sort.
So she can amend hers just to right now,
The Bow and Hatfield
just,
farm.
this one's called the Bow and Hatfield. Like I said, this is on the south side of the road.
So that's 31 acres.
No, you do the whole farm. It's 156.7 acres.
We're also already gonna use that for the water.
That's the one,
Oh, that's this whole page,
Yeah.
okay.
yes. So you just voted on allowing us to go ahead and do the 38 acres. That's the one that makes sense to do in all CRP and let the public go out and use it.
So then we have to vote separately on the other.
If she makes that motion.
I would like to amend my motion for the Bowen Hatfield, which I think is also known as farm number 2.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Just want to make sure.
No, it's
No,
not?
it's not,
Yeah.
that's across the street.
That's the
yeah.
south side.
Yeah, it's Bowen Hatfield, also known as farm number 3. Sorry about that. To do the hiring operators to contract with for the implementation and maintenance of the farm properties. I think, Tim, you seconded that, so
Yes.
you go with the motion for the amendment?
Yes, ma'am.
Hiring operators to the CRP.
Yeah,
That'd
which
be-
would be a bidding process, but we'd be looking for the lowest, and they would be 501(c).
Yeah, it does not have to be.
So is there an example of real life?
Yeah, that would be the 501(c)(3) for the CRP.
Okay, that's something. Okay.
So is there a real life example of what the motion on the table is proposing tonight? That's, the county's already doing this with the 501(c)(3).
So Champaign County is doing it. They're forest preserve.
Not the county, the forest.
Yeah.
Preserve
Forest preserve is not.
And then I
Has a
thought,
501(c)(3)
yeah,
leases. around it.
yeah.
But
And then I thought Dallas had said there was someplace else. It wasn't a county though. It was a municipality maybe. I can't remember. Dallas was out of town. Jason ended up having to work late and couldn't make it tonight.
Isn't that the Audubon Society was there?
Well, the Audubon Society said they would be willing to work with us.
I think that's the one they are already doing in Champaign County.
It's the Friends of the Prairie.
Friends of the Prairie is,
Okay.
yeah,
That's a Champaign County owned farm.
yeah, yeah.
So as far as we know, we don't know, not saying there isn't one, but we.
No, that's a
tonight-
Champaign County owned farm, and it's called Friends of Prairie. They're 5013, whatever it is.
C3.
That's
C3.
separate from forest preserve?
Yes.
They
Yes.
work with,
Okay.
through the forest
No,
preserve.
it's coming,
Their
that's,
property is forest preserve.
that's far as forest
Yeah.
preserve.
Okay,
That's, so, they are doing that.
okay. Thank
I shouldn't even say this, but
you. Say it,
Well,
Tom.
then don't.
if, no.
That's usually pretty good indication.
If this all works out as planned, it actually, that particular farm can generate more income than it did as we were cash renting it. Is that not a true statement?
Yes, it is,
I'm pretty sure it is.
yeah. Yeah, the CRP dollars, for that one, is higher than,
That one?
That's our worst farm,
yeah.
by far. And it
Yeah.
got $207 that the set aside programs are like,
254,
I don't
Yeah.
know the quoted, but
254.46 is what the,
even after we pay a not-for-profit
Do-
a
do-
little bit, we still should
do
make
one at a
as
time.
much as we're doing now, only.
Okay, so you have first, we have a second.
right.
That's to do, that's
Just this one.
just
The
this one here.
pasture,
Don't have
to move forward with CRP.
Do you see our, the whole thing? Our first and second. Any more questions or comments on just this one? Can you do roll call?
Ann Erke?
Yes.
Mr. Nuss?
Yes.
Cindy Erke?
Yes.
Mrs. Mussman?
Yes.
Mr. McCall?
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. McQuinn?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes. Those carries.
Holy moly,
That didn't hurt too bad.
I'm stunned. Okay, so the other thing we discussed was being able to advertise for, the auction to get the operators for, it would be all 3 county farms, to advertise for each one. That's the next thing on the agenda list.
We're not going to do operators. You're talking cash rent?
Yes. So how would I word that?
Is this the cash rent or is this for the custom farmers?
For custom farming?
No, wait a minute. Custom farms are different than cash rent.
Yes.
Right. That's,
It's not a good word.
We're the boss, not the farm.
Custom, you want custom farm? Are you saying custom farm?
Custom farm and for the operators for the CRP.
Okay,
We need the 501c3
for that one?
for this one, and then we would need a custom farm person for the 2 farms left.
Okay.
We need to advertise that in the paper at some point. Is that a
And
good
that-
enough motion?
and the custom farming is separate from a cash lease. 2 different, like Shelby County, they custom farm, they pay a set salary basically, or I'll throw out $40,000 a year. A guy goes out, puts in their crop, takes the crop out, it goes to an elevator. The crop is Shelby County's to dispose of and decide when to sell it. That's custom farming. Cash leasing is, you get so many dollars per acre, the person comes in, puts in the crop, takes the crop out, and it's their crop, and they sell it.
So it sounds like a plan of
No, it's 2 separate systems.
Yeah,
Custom farming, you're gonna bid out all your inputs, your fertilizers, your seed, you're gonna bid all that out.
Yep.
You're gonna do, you guys are gonna bid out your elevator, your storage elevator, and then you decide when you're gonna sell your crop. That's completely separate from cash lease. It's
it. Right,
not a
but
play
you're
on
saying
words.
but an operator.
I'm not saying operator, I said custom farmer.
Okay.
Yes.
to clarify.
Yeah, I just read what was on.
And then an operator is another step. That's somebody you paid to do all that crap that you just said we would be doing.
Like the 501c3 would be an operator.
Right. But wasn't there another plan where there was a person that would be hired to operate? But that would only be if it was CRP, am I correct?
No,
About everything.
like you're talking like to hire a farm manager.
Right.
Yeah, and that, there was some, we're not really, it's our duty to manage the ground.
Okay.
So to put it off on somebody else and not be in control of
Do
it.
we not have anything in the county that we could just let them use it and get the money off of it and do whatever they want to do with it, so we're at it? I mean, it sounded to me like it was originally meant for a not-for-profit. The ground was given for the nursing home, for example, because the nursing home was going to use that money to operate to help poor people. Nobody was going to benefit except the people in need. We don't have anything in the county like that now. Or like an airport that way it's not a tax burden.
Yeah, that only gives you the
Well-
ground right by the airport. You have to put 3 airports in.
If you have something to,
Or help that.
One of the things that Shelby had looked into, they didn't go with it, and I'm not sure what the logistics were. You guys are closer to Champaign. The U of I Ag program, they have all kinds of ag program that has the public purpose. It's part of the educational side of it. And I know they do that with, all kinds of ground.
Research like mechanics.
Yeah, there was a small school lot, and I think it was in Shelby County, where they actually had part of their ag program where they had different projects that the students were taking care of. Even though the farmer was putting it in, it directly had an educational side to it that met that public purpose. So those were options that they looked at, but they didn't go that direction. They did custom farming. They bid out the custom farming. I think they had 5 or 6 bids come in, and then they bid out the inputs as a package.
Yeah.
And it was, whether it's FS or whoever your suppliers are, as a package, they did it. It was like one-stop shop, and they took care of all the inputs. And their first year of doing it versus the way they were doing it with cash, granted, we've still got the rest of the season to go through to see what the raw numbers are, but they came out way ahead from what they were doing per acre on the lease program they had before.
I have a question based on that. So if we did the custom farming and maybe had an agreement with the school and the FFA program, would they be allowed to, so we got our harvest in, and if they had a program to teach the kids how to buy and sell and do all that stuff, would that fit public purpose?
Well, if you're doing custom farming, you're in charge of it anyway.
Right.
You're not leasing it out to a private individual.
Right, well, what I'm saying is partnering with the school and letting the kids do it as an educational, instead of our board doing it, the kids would be doing it as an educational project. Is that something?
Question for him.
I'm not sure it could be legal to put 400 acres of county-owned property in the hands of 17-year-olds.
It will be in the hands of the teacher. It'd be in the hands of the teacher.
I can say, one of our school districts in Paris, we've got 2 school districts in Paris, believe it or not, kind of crazy. One of them does have farm ground that the FFA program operates.
Manages.
How they operate it, I don't have a clue, I never asked.
But that's school-owned ground.
Right, that is school.
Okay.
So Kurt, can you help me, I need some clarification on the educational piece. So you're saying that that ground that you were talking about was leased to the U of I, their college aces or whatever?
They did the talk was to do an intergovernmental agreement.
Okay.
And through an intergovernmental agreement, you end up, they have all the powers you do, and you have all the powers they do.
Sure.
So if U of I can do through their ag program, then you could as well through that program.
Okay. And then who collected the money? So you said something about coming out ahead.
Okay, on custom farming that Shelby did, they didn't go with U of I just from a timing standpoint. They went with custom farming, all that revenue stays in the county general fund. If you go the other route, that's negotiable through your intergovernmental agreement as to what type of terms you can come up with them.
But with the custom farming, then that's our responsibility to sell that grain or whatever.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do
So
you
you'd
know
have to do,
I'm sorry.
So you'd have to do, your farmers would have to do bids on what they would want to do per acre. We would have to purchase the seed, we'd have to purchase the fertilizer. Then you would have to pay the farmer would have to be willing to mow your banks after a certain time frame. So you gotta do that. They harvest. Ford County will be responsible for contacting 2 elevators, at least 2. So you ain't got a lot of them close. You got Paxton, you got Gibson City. So you'd have to take that and take your bids on what it would take to call in. Well, guess what? They're gonna, if Ford County's right outside here, you know where it's at? The one Ford County Farm's right outside of here.
Yeah.
The other 2, like I said, 5 miles east of Paxton. So they're gonna get a better price, whether they get a better price over in Gibson City. Your farmer's gonna charge us more to haul to Gibson City versus bring it to Paxton. So you have get your bids from your elevator. I thought I was told 2, but I could be wrong. So then it's Ford County's responsibility to decide when to sell. You can go ahead and you can sit there and go, okay, we're gonna sell February beans, we're gonna sell the January beans. I know just enough of it to make me dangerous.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
How did Shelby County do that? Did they set price points that they sold at, or did the board meet every time they wanted to sell a portion of their,
That's a great question, and.
I'm full of them.
I'll do my best out of recollection. I want to address some of the things you said. The inputs they did as a one-stop shop, I don't quote me, but I'm going to say FS. You know, they put it out for bid, but they didn't get any receipts or any bids received, but they met the qualifications. Hey, we put it out for bid, so now what do you do? Well, they had to select somebody to do the input. They selected a local vendor that took care of the seed, the fertilizer, all the chemicals, everything they needed. That was a one-stop shop. That was one agreement. The custom farming, within that, they had everything, and you can get copies of it, they had everything in there as far as road miles, what they're going to charge, all the way down to it's this much per acre is what they were going to charge to get it to the elevator. And they selected, I believe it was the 2 closest elevators to that area. Now, the sale of the grain is the interesting point, because the grain is county assets, county property. How do you dispose of county property?
You either donate it to another county or another governmental body, you have a public auction on it. Yeah, I mean.
And they sold it right across as it came in. They sold it right as soon as it came across the scale.
That's what I do. So why would I sit out there and pay an elevator to dry my corn down to a certain percentage when I bring it in and going, it's yours?
Well, that's why
I mean, that's
you as
just
a county
fine.
board get paid the big bucks to make those decisions.
Well, I get big bucks, all right. Yeah.
But yeah, selling the grain was a discussion they had at great lengths with their committees, you know, trying to figure out the best way. They didn't want to sit on it, but it was a county asset. And to simplify it, they sold it, you know, as soon as it was harvested, it went straight to the elevator, they cut a scale ticket and a check straight to the county.
And we could have a copy of that, correct, what they...
Oh, yeah, it's all, if you contact the county, county clerk, they have all copies of all of that, yeah.
All that being said, CRP looks really good to me right now.
Yes.
Well, and that's something that can, I mean, this would be a 1-year
Yes. Yes.
contract.
Yes.
So we can work more, kind of the idea is to see how this one goes, and then
The problem
get the
is,
next one and the next one.
you find a 501c3 to do this thing for the first year,
Yes,
and it's only 1 year, it's kind of a pain in the...
yeah. Well, this,
No, you're talking about 2 different things. The 501c3 is tied up with CRP, and CRP is a 10-year contract.
yeah.
That's, so there
That
won't
would
be,
be fall, and we're talking spring.
no, what I'm saying is you wouldn't touch that again for 10 years.
Right, but we wouldn't put it in CRP till fall.
It wouldn't get put in until
October.
October.
October is when it left, yeah.
That's when you get your first payment, it's in October. They
Right,
would put
but
it
you
in
can
the
sign
spring.
it up now.
As soon as
Yeah,
you
they can start doing the work in the spring, and then
Payment.
the paperwork would go through in
But you
October.
could also have a crop now, and then do CRP as soon as the crop's out.
You could, but then you're getting into,
If the CRP program is still available.
right,
That's true too.
yeah, you kind of want to lock it in. But the idea was to get our feet wet here with all this, and
I'm not a farmer, in my head.
And then the other 2 would be,
the other
Lease
2 would
this
be
year.
contract, custom farm.
Custom farm.
Custom farm this year, the other 2 would be, yeah.
And we cannot use a farm manager for custom farming, correct?
No, I guess you can.
Not really. Not really, but I think Shelby County's been through this is their 2nd year doing it. They have it pretty dialed in now, I think.
just getting ready to go out to bid for their second year.
Yeah.
They're on their first cycle of the first contract they went into.
Yeah, they learned a lot from that first cycle, I think, a lot.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
Every time you screw up, you learn something new, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's good enough, you learn.
yeah.
That's lessons.
Yeah, it is. It's the
So
longest.
the second contract that they are using, I think is kind of more dialed in, make it a little bit easier. I mean, like,
Well, repetition makes everything simple.
right, I mean, like getting your inputs, your fertilizer and your whatever else, all in one,
See, there again, like FS has a fertilizer, they sell seed, you could literally do that.
right,
And hire a farmer to plant it, pick it, deliver it.
Yep.
So it's really only 3 steps if you do it that way.
right.
Yeah, you do it with
I'm
one
for
person
what-
to do all 3 steps.
Yeah, I want, that's what I want.
Yes.
Simple.
Yeah, you wouldn't have like somebody to plant it and harvest it, you would do all 3.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I'm very, you gotta keep it simple for
As
me.
a point of interest, I don't know what your acreage goes for around here, but their low bid, I believe, was about 121 an acre.
Oh, no, we're higher.
Oh, yeah,
we're
we're
a little
green.
higher.
That was the bid to farm it. There's other, if you were to cash rent it, there's farmers out there who pay $300 and $400.
Okay, that's.
But there were people that said, okay, county, if you pay me 120 an acre, I'll put it in and take it out. And they did some mowing on the ditches or whatever, some other stuff on there. But they had as high as $250 an acre. So the bids ranged, a vast spread. And when they went with the low bidder, and they had all the implement requirements and stuff in the contract, it was,
It still seems the same as cash renting though. You still pay for the seed, the fertilizer, somebody to do it, you know what I mean?
I get that side of it.
It makes it more difficult, and since you're letting it out for bid, it doesn't seem like any one person, because you can lose, I mean, you're a farmer, you can lose.
That's like, kind of like invoices out though, Randy, if you have like invoices out, you're paying out, it's like a bill going out, and then you reap all the benefits of the crop coming in. That's basically, that's a little loophole right there.
And one other thing from a risk standpoint, just so you know, within any government contract you look at, and your highway department, I'm sure can address this, most of your vendors, they're required to have a bond. And within this contract, they had a bond for a set value of, I don't remember if it was the contract value or what the expected production value was, but there was a mechanism in there to protect you from a loss.
Does that take the place of insurance, the bond? Like, let's say
They
there's a storm that went through.
They also bought crop
insurance? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The bond was, let's say something happened to the farmer and, he got hit in an accident, he couldn't get the crop in the ground.
Gotcha.
Now what do? Well, you exercise the bond and you pay somebody to get the crop in the ground.
Okay.
All around here, all the farmers kick in, and when somebody gets sick, they all bring their combines over and they take this thing out.
Beauty of a small community, man, I love it.
That's what's great about it.
Remember
Everybody
we talked
likes
about the
everybody.
Dennis Lee, just in quote option, where he would do it'd be a contract with him, and then he would take a certain percentage, do the whole thing, and that's off the table too?
Yeah, because the state, imagine this, the state has different
State
rules.
has different powers than counties.
Okay,
So the DNR has the ability to,
And that was a piece of property that the DNR acquired that already was in the CRP program.
okay.
Once that contract with CRP ended, DNR did not sign it back up.
Okay,
but they kept it as a wildlife area.
after 20 meetings and 35 minutes, do you know what you want to do? And who's going to be the overseer of this?
I believe the county board chairman ends up being kind of the,
Damn, Deb,
She's passing it off, she's sick that day, so you're going to be
Passing nothing off.
liquor commissioner.
I would.
Yeah, we ain't got that one yet, Chase, I'm not the liquor commissioner yet. I think I'm gonna pass
Okay,
that
so
on.
so
what
the
is the
motion was,
motion?
the motion was to advertise for
Custom farm.
Custom
custom
farm.
farmers. Does that include does that word include finding someone to
No.
do CRP?
This is just the two,
Two remaining.
the
farmers.
CRP has to be, the best option for that is the 501c3.
Right. Do I need that language in my motion?
No, this is something.
Right now, custom farm, let's have two motions.
Correct.
Okay,
Let's have a custom farmer motion, let's have a 501c3 motion.
Yeah,
Because
for
we're talking
advertising.
about two different programs.
for advertising.
For
And that
advertising
falls under
purposes.
this agenda item, okay?
So who's going to help write that?
Yeah, for operators, break them up,
Okay,
yeah.
so I will make the motion for advertising for finding a custom farmer to take care of the other two farms the county owns.
Okay.
You have a
That makes
motion and a second, please.
I'll second.
Have first and second. Any more questions?
Yes, I have a question. So is that thing you're gonna put in the paper gonna be for planting and harvesting, for fertilizer and whatever spraying, and for delivery to the elevator? Okay.
We'll have to get that, all that wording. This is just to do the advertising. We're gonna have another.
To do those things, so
Yeah,
all three, okay.
yes, yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Okay, do we need to do a voice vote on this, or?
Well,
It's been,
Does anybody, roll call, please.
Roll call, please, yeah.
Mr. Nuss.
Yes.
Cindy Erkey.
Yes.
Mrs. Mussman.
Yes.
Mr. McCall.
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yeah,
Mrs. King.
Yes.
Mr. McQuinn.
Yeah.
Ann Erkey.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes, motion carries.
Okay, then I would entertain a second motion to do advertising to find a 501c3 to contract with for the
Going half.
Bowen Hatfield Farm.
I'll second that, Tim Nuss.
Have first and second.
Roll call,
Question.
please. Oh, questions?
Questions, comments?
501(3),
C3.
C3.
501(c)(3).
Questions, comments on this one?
And this is for custom farming on the other two.
No.
No,
This is
that's
CRP.
what
Yeah, we haven't
this
had
is.
The
that.
CRP only.
This is
So
the
this is
CRP.
just CRP on the one farm.
CRP.
Yes.
Roll call.
Cindy.
That was Mrs. Mussman.
Yes.
Mr. McCall.
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
Mrs. King.
Yes.
Mr. McQuinn.
Yeah.
Ann Erkey.
Yes.
Mr. Nuss.
Yes.
Cindy Erkey.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes, motion carries.
So the next thing we discussed was setting a date, time, and place for the auction.
We don't need that now.
We don't need that now. So that dies for lack of motion. Discussion possible action on allowing the chairman of Overview and/or the chairman of the county board to accept and sign cash farm leases.
We don't need to leave it.
Dies for lack of motion. Discussion possible action on soil testing for the two county farms that we would custom farm, I'll get it, if necessary. So I guess we just want, well, I'll make the motion and we can discuss that.
I'll second.
Have first and a second.
Okay.
Discussion, the soil testing for the two farms for custom farming.
We need to do it.
You'd wanna do it anyway, right? 'Cause
Yeah, you wanna know where your
we
limit's at.
Anybody can cash
When
rent.
we haven't done it for 2 years, we need to know where we're at.
Okay.
Whoever was farming it didn't have that?
We did it only because that way we knew it got done, and it got done by our local guys, not,
Gotcha.
Yeah,
seemed to be better in the long run.
yeah.
CYA.
Yep.
Any questions?
Any other questions on getting that done? Comments?
Roll call, please.
Mr. McCall.
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
Mrs. King.
Yes.
Mr. McQuinn.
Yes.
Ann Erkey.
Yes.
Mr. Nuss.
Yes.
Cindy Erkey.
Yes.
Mrs. Mussman.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes, motion carries.
Okay, so the last thing that we've been talking about at these 3 past meetings, Mr. Nuss brought up, and I know we had questions asked about it in the past, but Tim has had some business inquiry around the town of Roberts, and that, it was Dollar General, and they asked if our county had a comprehensive plan, and we do not. And so Tim asked to be looking into this, and we talked about it at the meetings. We do have a planning commission that was established. I don't know, so I would like to make a motion on adopting a comprehensive plan for Ford County. Can I get a second?
Second.
We have a first and we have a second.
We didn't do this 15 years ago, 10 years ago in zoning?
No.
Because we talked, I remember talking about it
It's
and
been-
working on it.
Yeah, it's been, well, this is a comprehensive plan. So this
Exactly
is-
what it was, it's a
yeah.
comprehensive plan, we talked about it.
We talked about it.
Because that was for business reasons, when they were trying to do all that stuff down in Coles County with the coal-fired plant. we were gonna try to do it, because that was the big talk when we were members of ECIEDD.
We don't have anything on file that it ever got done.
And Champaign Regional Planning was gonna help us with that. That
Nothing.
might be one of those bands.
Yeah, nothing. So we don't have a comprehensive plan, but when companies come in, it's very helpful. It's a guide, basically, of what the future growth of the county is and what certain areas are used for and things like that. And the planning commission, it's their main purpose is to do this. Were we able to find that original paperwork on that yet, Amy? I know that's
I
like
have not had time.
Okay, no problem. So we were gonna try and find the original resolution to find out how people are appointed, because we're pretty sure that unless their appointments say that if nobody's appointed, you can continue to serve, most of the people on there. It's been a long time. It's been, I think, 8 years,
Almost 10.
10 years since
I think
anything's been done with
2014
it.
was the last.
They haven't even met.
The planning commission,
Yeah.
Correct.
they,
Yeah.
they met,
They met
didn't they meet for?
at the Wind,
Yeah.
at the ZBA,
That was almost 10 years ago.
but they really had no purpose.
No, the
It
last
was last one,
There's,
in 2018.
Yeah.
there are no published minutes from a meeting.
Okay,
More recently in 2014.
okay.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't, yeah,
No,
you're
that's
right.
fine.
You're right,
Let
they
that-
did,
take that
but
information out. Yeah,
right.
okay.
So, I guess, what's everybody's feelings on getting started on something like this? There will be costs
Well,
involved.
if you're gonna, well, yeah, the corporations that want to come in and build brick and mortar, like Dollar General, 10 times out of 10 always ask for a comprehensive.
Every business does.
And
I've been asked several different times on it because I'm trying to do this.
alls that, yeah, and alls that is, they're looking for viability. So if they invest money into a town, they want to make sure that they're going to cap or they're going to get their investment back, and then some.
Right.
And so a comprehensive plan will sort of give them an idea of what you want.
Which would
You
be
give them an
positive.
idea of what, yeah.
Very
So-
positive, yeah.
Well, my old thing is, like the old saying is, if you fail to plan, you have a plan to fail. And we are, right now, in our small communities, we are without a plan. And I've approached, I don't know how many different companies and everything else, trying to bring it on. And we owe it to our constituents to have a plan, I would have to say. Because out of all the years that we've all been on the board, none of us can tell what the plan is. And yet I talk to the mayors, they have the same thing. They may know what they're gonna do, but they don't know what we're gonna do with them. We owe it to them to develop a plan. Some of these, like Livingston County's had one for 50 years. And almost every county around us has had theirs extensively. I don't see how we can't do it. We owe it to our constituents to have a plan for the future.
So who drafts a comprehensive plan?
The Regional Planning Commission does all the studies, they're a fact-finding body. Then they draft a proposal, and that is what the county votes on, either up or down.
Will it be through Champaign County Regional Planning Commission?
I think it'd be through Ford County Regional Planning.
It would be.
We have a planning
We
commission.
have a
Yeah.
planning.
Yeah.
Well, I know we have a planning commission, you're through regional and then.
Well, yes, we have a planning commission, they've not prepared.
They got a comprehensive plan, okay.
And we're not sure if any of them are still
Living?
within their term limits. I mean, they probably all expired.
I've talked to 3 of them, they had no idea. They didn't know if they were running or not. They didn't know.
Okay, who's
And
the,
County board member can serve, so.
That's why we need the original resolution, because that will guide how their elections are made, whether it's made by mayors of the individual municipalities or,
okay.
we've got to get that, so. And I know we just talked to Amy about that like on
Just 2 days ago, 3
Friday,
days
so
ago.
it's not like she's had a whole lot of time to do that.
To go
Well,
into the
and they're all
archives.
different.
Yeah.
Each resolution will be different because they were appointed at different times, right?
Well, we
No,
want the,
no.
we want the
Number one.
resolution forming.
Oh, okay.
the
Which we
planning
think was
commission.
probably maybe done when the zoning was formed,
I don't know.
but that's the place to start, so it will take a little digging, but, yeah.
This will get things started.
Yes.
And that will be through zoning? Will be the zoning officer will be in charge of that group?
as far as.
They'll be their own group,
They're
but
their own
They're
group.
their
Yeah,
own
I think they're their own group.
nobody oversees them?
Who's the known chair?
Who's
I
the
think Jerry
liaison?
Boyer is the chair that's listed on the website, but
See, I talked to him.
But we also had to find out, like, what in that original formation, is there kind of like the building commission, it's said in the formation of it that, you know, the Paxton, if you chose to participate, the Paxton mayor can appoint so many, and one has to come from up north, one has to come from, we need to see how that works too. So this is just to get launch it, get it going.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, so a motion and a second for moving forward to adopt a comprehensive plan. Let's get the ball rolling.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Quick way to cheat on that.
We don't like to cheat.
Oh, yeah, we do.
We like to always go on with the contract.
We have, Livingston County has a fantastic one, check it out. It's awesome, and I've asked them about a template and everything else, and check it out if you get a chance.
It makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, it's great,
Well, this is the starting point.
yes. Well, it would give us, we could cut, I mean, they've already done all the homework, they've done all the stuff, they've done the verbiage, they've done everything, and I've talked to them, they say, yeah, you take it. If it helps you guys, yeah.
You gotta find the original.
Yeah. Well, the first thing is to get that planning commission going again, so. Any other questions or
This
comments?
isn't spending money.
Well, it could eventually be spending money.
yeah, I don't know right now that there's any money to be spent. This is, my understanding is you guys are just looking into A, who the members are, and B, how they're appointed.
Let's go for voice vote.
I don't know that you need it.
That's what I'm gonna go for.
We'll go for a
At this
voice vote,
point.
just to have it on the record. Okay.
All those in favor, please, any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Unopposed, same sign. Is that it? That's it? Sheriff,
We met last Wednesday and went over the bills, and I put it on a motion to pay those bills.
Second.
we have a first, we have a second. Any questions or comments on any of the
And
sheriff?
second.
Okay,
And second.
the body cameras, the squad laptops, that's all through the resolution that we approved.
Through our fund.
Yep.
Our party.
Yes, second.
Cameras, body cams, and,
The computers for this one.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Cameras.
Under public safety.
Any questions on any of those, any of the sheriff's bills? Roll call, please.
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. McQuinn,
Yes.
Ann Erke,
Yes.
Mr. Nuss,
Yes.
Cindy Erke,
Yes.
Mrs. Mussman,
Yes.
Mr. McCall,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes, motion carries.
And we have to talk about anything else
Yeah.
as far as employee. Wants to get somebody hired.
He has in his budget, he's trying to get somebody hired.
Okay. Let's discuss that.
Oh, so, okay,
We're allowing laterals and all that.
that's what, yeah, you know what he was saying there?
Okay, basically, and I'll get this wrong, but he's got someone he would like to hire that has 14 years' experience or better in being
Law
a
enforcement.
police officer. I think 12 of those were actually for Fort County one time. And if he hires someone and has to send them to training, it's about $7,500, and you don't get to use them for quite a few months.
Yeah.
If he does his transfer, he would need to bring them in at a little higher rate, like on the longevity schedule, give him credit for some of that time, which I think was like $5,500.
Right now, we allow 4-year lateral transfer. He's wanting to kick it up to 10-year lateral transfer, which could possibly cost him salary of $5,500 higher per year. But you save a lot of money on training because you get all that experience.
Plus, you get someone that you know is going to be a police officer, not someone that might decide they can't handle it, don't like it. He does have to discuss it with the union to see if they will allow it to go up to the 10-year lateral transfer, which there's
They will.
not much reason why they won't.
If they have 14 years, they'll still come in at 10
Yeah.
Yeah.
on our pay scale.
So So basically, right now, it's $7,500 for 6 weeks training. We have to pay them while they're being trained, which is about $13,000, so right, you're over 20. And then they have to shadow somebody up to 10 weeks, and they're not doing us a dang bit of good for 10 weeks. So Officer Hunter Johnson, he only shadowed for 2 weeks because he already had
2 or 4?
2 or 4 years experience
4.
when he came. 4? So he came in at 4, so he liked to bump it. So he's not, I mean, we're not really, I guess we're not really voting on anything because he has, it has to go to the FOP. So I guess he just kind of,
If they agree, then we'll vote on it.
then, yeah, so I'm just kind of, I guess, trying to give you guys heads up.
Part of the urgency is he's gonna lose another officer here, I think, next month. And
Actually, he's
he
leaving
would-
next Friday.
So they're really trying to replace for the,
ASAP.
He's retiring, that gentleman, right? He's
Yes,
retiring.
Miller's retiring. Yes, sir.
so I
Thanks,
guess
Sam.
I gotta ask the question, what do we really have to do? I mean, it's in his budget, he can do what he needs to do, as far as hiring.
That's not his
The lateral hire
bad.
letter.
Lateral,
Yeah.
I think he said it had to, he had to have your support to take it to the
yes,
next
that's all he
level.
wants.
Okay.
So do we need a vote on that to show support?
It's
That's
not.
all the budget.
It's not on the
It's
agenda.
not on the agenda, so.
No, but do we need to?
At our next meeting,
Yeah.
we need to.
That's the question.
I think he said that wasn't necessary.
Does
He just
anybody
wanted
have
your
a
support.
problem allowing a 10-year lateral transfer?
During this informational
sense.
only process?
Yes. No. That's what I'm asking.
You're the guy that does a little writing at the bottom of the
I think it doesn't matter right now
No, it doesn't.
until we hear from the union.
Yes.
This is a negotiating year, so even if the union shoots this down,
Yeah.
it'll be a topic of negotiation.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know why they would.
Anything else?
No, I have plenty.
Okay, zoning.
We had 3 meetings in January, the 10th, the 24th, and the 31st. Well, one was a continued meeting, the 24th to the 31st. We completed the solar ordinance, which was sent to Andrew. And then we worked on the liquor ordinance, and that's also been sent to Andrew. As you probably know, that the state has made a law now that they've taken over the solar and wind ordinance for the state. And we have 120 days to redo them. We're sort of just waiting now to see what's going to happen.
Say
Usually there's
redo
gonna be
or review?
lawsuits. Pardon?
You say redo or review?
Redo.
To redo them, and with the new, with their new
Guidelines?
language. Kelly over at CIRMA is gonna be getting out one that, they're putting together one that they think we can use. But I think there's gonna be some lawsuits, and I don't know, so how do you feel about that, Andrew? To just wait?
the risk is if you wait, then you have, what Kelly is indicating, if you wait, you have no ordinance. So you have no say at that point. So if you put one out, you at least have a say. But,
So,
and I know there are counties discussing suits, but there are no suits
as,
filed as of today,
right.
whether or not they do or
I know she is coming out with one that's gonna.
not. A model ordinance?
Yeah, a model, so I think we'll wait until that comes out, and then we'll
I
set a
think at
meeting.
least, yeah.
So,
Well, that model ordinance is being reviewed by attorneys and zoning
right,
officers. I mean, so whatever Kelly produces
it's gonna
is
be,
going to be probably what we adopt, because it's been vetted 18,000 times.
and then, on the liquor ordinance, as soon as you have that, we'll get that back, and then we'll go right to ZBA.
Okay.
So,
What would the cause for suit be for the zoning state standards?
for what?
The suit, what would the cause of suit be for the state? You
I think-
mentioned that a couple counties
Taking
are.
away
They
our
might-
local,
No, they would challenge it on the process, kind of like we did with the Safety Act.
No, okay, yeah.
The lack of 3 readings,
but on
that
the,
sort of stuff.
on the gun one, they said that they threw that out of court, that process, because they had some loophole were, I can't remember exactly what it was, but.
If
there-
both leaders in each house sign off on an affidavit that the process was followed, the Supreme Court has generally given them wide leeway.
Okay.
The Supreme Court has indicated that that is not absolute though, and should it become necessary, the court will step in.
And they have been abusing it.
Yeah.
Anything else,
No
Ann?
kidding. Nope, that's it.
Someone like to approve the committee meeting minutes, please.
Cindy, are you so moves?
Cindy makes a motion. Have a second, please.
King, second.
Have first and second. Any questions or comments on any of the committee meeting minutes? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Special assignments, 708.
Nothing.
Nothing. 911.
Our next meeting will be March 8th in Piper City at 7 PM.
Okay. Summary of the meeting was on 126. We went over financial statements, the investment reports, claim reports, and the brokerage report. And our next meeting is going to be in April. They are talking about going ahead and doing the dividend for counties. They're going to close some certain years out, and then they'll be paying the counties that were in CIRMA as members and sending us checks. ECCA is on 112. They basically just went over their budget and stuff for 2024. I don't think there's much else there that they talked about.
On that, but we've got a bunch of other stuff going on. You've all got that VOCA. I'd like you to look inside of it. You'll see that weatherization program that's described in there. It's the WX program. WX will perform all kinds of different things for people in need and stuff like that. And I really like everybody to please consider that for your communities, your towns, and everything else. There's people out there that need the help, and I worry that they aren't getting it. Here's some information where you can contact and call if they can meet those parameters. And we're also looking for contractors to perform the duties needed to do those and everything else. There's information right there how to do that also. It also gives you the information of Ford County, our contact for, and Iroquois County. You'll also see water assistance programs. We are paying out water bills and stuff for people in need and assistance in our communities. It's highly needed. Our towns and stuff are sitting on those bills. They don't need to be when they can get paid and the people can get taken care of. And last but not least, we have if you look on the next page, you'll see an Action Scholarship Program for $2,000 scholarships going out for Ford, Iroquois, and Vermilion County. Last year, I submitted them to Ford County and Iroquois County. We didn't have anybody even apply for them. $2,000 scholarships. And come on, I think there's people out there that could use a $2,000
Do
scholarship.
schools get this?
Yes, I give them to the superintendents, and I took them by the buildings and everything else, hoping they could do it. And I can do that again. I will have the scholarships and everything else, the applications for them. And there's some criteria to get that done, but come on, I mean, we need it. And we're also working on a health fair in Roberts in April coming up, and we're bringing in any and all people that will show what they can do for the county. And we have a lot of businesses, we have a lot of things available. We just aren't utilizing the resources out there. And I'm working on that for 18th, and hard to believe it's going to be at the Roberts Gym.
Do you have a date for that health fair?
Not yet. I'm leaning on trying to get it on a Friday. I'll talk to you later. I'm working on a date. I can't pronounce it right now because I'm trying to bring all parties together, and that's like herding cats.
Sure.
I mean, so.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay, EMA. Anything?
You guys should have
Terry turned in his report
Yep.
to you guys. If you have any questions, comments, I guess you can give it to Terry. Thank you, Terry. Extension. I did call down and talk with the gal down in Champaign. She did not have your name.
No, there's a local one though, I think.
I know, but Champaign's in charge of them.
Oh.
So the gal in Champaign asked for your phone number and your email. She makes sure that you start to get paperwork.
Okay.
She didn't have that down, so.
So did you give it to her then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Because I've been playing phone tag with the gal, I believe she's.
That's why I called Champaign. So I could not get through to her either.
Okay, thank you.
So they haven't met, correct? She says they don't meet very often.
No, they don't meet very much.
So, Fort County Public Health Department. Let's see. Our meeting is next month.
It's like every 4 months.
Yeah, it's like every 4 months. Mobile Region 8, Johnson, Regional Office of Education, there was a meeting on 2/6. I got paperwork here if anybody would like to go through this is all, you're happy to look at all their different grants and stuff that they work on, all the paperwork, that's for Regional Office 8. Then, let's see, Union Affairs, nothing. Workforce Investments, got that paperwork, if anybody wants to go through this. There is a young gal that's, moving over budget, and they also talk about the program performance goals. There's an Ashley Lawrence, she's gonna be covering both Ford and Iroquois. She was trained in Champaign, December and January, and she started last month coming up to Paxton office, and I'll have to get her hours. He didn't know for sure when I called to find out for sure, but I will get the hours, and she'll hopefully come to the meeting. More business? None? New business? None? Adjourned. Who makes the motion? Second, Tom seconds. Anyone opposed? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Next meeting will be March 13th.